they are Moscow's baggage. They no longer have any legitimate claim to anything at all. This is late 1985 in Warsaw, the funeral of Father Jerzy Popiełuszko, a heroic priest who was the chaplain of Underground Solidarity. He was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered by members of the secret police. His funeral, attended by hundreds of thousands, became a major national event. Compare what you had seen on this video clip to the Solidarity demonstration that you saw a few minutes ago. We have managed to claim everything. The national symbols, Poland's white and red flag draped on the facade of Father Popiełuszko's church, ripped in half, the white and the red separated. We managed to claim the national symbols. And indeed, the two gentlemen that you see on the close-up here, the gentleman with the mustache on the right, was soon to become Poland's first democratically elected president, Lech Wałęsa. The gentleman with a sad face on his left was to become Poland's first non-communist prime minister, Tadeusz Mazowiecki. By this time, we, in fact, were the people. They were Popiełuszko's murderers. We are the people. We are, in fact, the state. An underground state, to be sure, but the state nonetheless. One of the things the state does is it issues money. In the top left-hand corner, you see a 10 zloty note, regular currency, stamped by somebody with a stenciled portrait of Lech Wałęsa, the intern Solidarity leader. But why not publish money of our own? The note in the middle is a spoof on national currency, and it shows military ruler General Wojciech Jaruzelski in a Himmler-like uniform. The note is made out in 30 pieces of silver, Judas' salary. But why concern ourselves with them at all? The note at the bottom is a 10 zloty note carrying the portrait of Adam Michnik, interned Solidarity activist, advisor, leading intellectual. These were small symbolic gestures, but all of them led in the same direction. We are the people, we are the state, we are the nation. And when eventually the communist regime was forced to negotiate, to compromise, and to allow semi-democratic elections in which we were to be roundly trounced, we put one final accent of our own. Remember the Ronald Reagan poster that started this show? This is the poster we put up for Election Day. High noon, June 4th, 1989. Note that Gary Cooper doesn't have a gun, he has a ballot. We won. Although only 64% of Poland's population bothered to vote on that day. A stunning development. This was, after all, what generations of Poles had fought for. An election, if not entirely free and fair, anyway, a vast improvement over what the communist regime had to offer. A symbolic vindication of the struggle. Ah, yes, but if somebody is excluded from the nation, is considered Moscow's baggage, why should they vote? Why should they bother at all? We were, of course, fooling ourselves. The communists, unfortunately, were not just Moscow's baggage. They began with this, but after 40 years, they had become part of Poland's public opinion, of Poland's civil society. We had told them to get lost. They got lost. It took years to find ways to reintegrate that part of the country who didn't see Gary Cooper and High Noon as their defender, but as a threat, to reintegrate the democratic Poland that we were building. But possibly more importantly and more dangerously, if we are the people, we are the nation, we are the state, this leaves precious little room for democratic compromise. We triumphed against all odds because we had created, developed, and successfully implemented a strategy which identified the one overriding political goal: throw the communists out. This was something everybody, left to right, Catholic to Jewish, religious to atheist, professor to worker, could agree on. And then we paid the price of our triumph. Because if politics is about identifying the overriding goal and implementing it, this means that in a political controversy in a democracy, one side is right and the other side is wrong. This leaves no space for horse trading, rotten compromises, backroom deals, the very stuff of democracy. To this very day, each Polish election, and we have an extremely well-functioning democracy, each Polish election is about the apocalypse. Each party claims to represent the overriding national interest. By implication, everybody else is at best stupidly mistaken, at worst a traitor to the cause. Today, everybody claims Gary Cooper on their banners. Each election, each political confrontation is in fact a shootout at OK Corral. This is the price to pay for a successful victory preceded by a successful propaganda campaign in which we had managed to fool ourselves that we, Solidarity, are the people. And we had indoctrinated ourselves into believing that politics is about identifying the overriding goal. A propaganda that leaves no room for dissent, compromise, horse trading is effective. It's always dangerous, even if the good guys do it.
Thank you, Konstantin. We'll have a little time for questions. Fill your cards out if you wish to ask one, and pass them to people who will be going through the aisles. Now we come to our last speaker, George Soros, who is an author of many books, the most recent, The Age of Fallibility, who presides over Soros Fund Management and is also progenitor of the Open Society Institute. So before George talks, let's watch the screens. We're going to have a little bit of revelations about who the real George Soros actually is.
This man, radical left-winger George Soros, is amassing tremendous political power with the help of some mainstream media. We'll have a Factor investigation.
Factor has been investigating far-left billionaire George Soros, a man who wants to impose a radical left agenda on America. And under the radar, he is making great progress. Soros has set up a complicated political operation designed to do two things: buy influence among some liberal politicians and smear people with whom he disagrees. An extremist who wants open borders, a one-world foreign policy, legalized drugs, euthanasia, and on and on. My book, Culture Warrior, documents the Soros policy and his tax-evading businesses located in Curacao and Bermuda. Monica, begin with you. Did I leave anything out?
No, I think you were right on. And you know what? This is an incredibly well-oiled, brilliantly orchestrated machine.
George Soros is the wizard, if you're talking about the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Who is this guy?
Well, George Soros is a billionaire who I think is largely anti-Bush.
Well, that's right. George Soros is really the Dr. Evil of the whole world of left-wing foundation.
Well, frankly, he's, in my humble opinion, George Soros is a madman.
George Soros, full of money and liberal ideas, like legalizing drugs, letting felons vote, and keeping the death tax.
I don't know where George Soros gets his money.